our focus for our SpEd cohort is on a question or coordinator questions answered. And so we had sent out a Google form to get any input from case managers. And like I said before, if there's questions that come up, either like follow-up questions to these, or at the end, if you have additional questions, just let us know. Jenny, if there's like follow-up questions, would you mind typing those in just
Sure.
so we cover them as well?
Yep.
All right, so number one was asking any tips for getting parents to fill out evaluation forms and return them. That's definitely a common frustration among case managers and itinerant staff, is like not being able to get parents to fill out forms. Just some ideas, though, you could, or we could, create fillable forms or like a Google Doc and send via email, having the parent fill them out during a home visit or conference. If you're able to have that direct contact with them, you could call the parent and ask the questions interview style if necessary, or a lot of times too is if you incentivize students to bring the forms back. Like, it's pretty incredible what kids can make their parents do when they're like going to earn something. They're pretty motivated to get any help with that. But we definitely know that it is a difficult thing to do sometimes, and just know that, especially on a reeval, if you don't get it back with multiple attempts, it's usually not like the evaluation isn't hinging on that information. It's just always something good. And you can always add more info at the meeting if you have one. All right, number two. Oh, Jenny, you were going to read the questions.
You totally stepped on me, Care.
Sorry, I'm okay. You read number two.
I don't know what you'd do without me. Number two, is there a checklist for homebound students? And if so, what are the steps that should be completed for these students?
All right, that's a great question. It doesn't happen often, but every once in a while we get students or parents that are requesting homebound services for their child. Some districts have homebound folders or like paperwork to have physicians fill out. It has to be like verified by a physician, and that like reasoning for needing homebound services. And just to remember that like homebound means like they are confined to their home, so it really has to come through that doctor or therapist or something like that. That's a really important piece to that. And making sure that you're just reaching out to your coordinator if that conversation comes up, because it's a unique situation typically, and wanting to make sure everyone's on board with that.
Number three, for the new setup, when we go to print and validate an IEP, it has us check off what we would like to print. What are the documents that should always be printed?
So the standard IEP includes sections or pages 1 through 9. Be sure to print the evacuation plan and or PVSP as needed. So you do not need like the additional information, the agreement to amend, and there isn't one more.
Yeah, I can't.
The end there. But yes, just those typical, the standard IEP includes sections 1 through 9. So when you're printing, you can have that option. I think just on 2.0, maybe it's when or a new update, it just started.
So they usually both will give you the option of which sections to print. And I think this question may also come from when the student does not have transition or they're not of transition age yet. Do you need to print the transition pieces?
I would say yes. Because that's part of the IEP, and that like obviously you're just not addressing those until you've done that transition eval.
Question number 4. Is the amendment page something that should be printed off if we're doing an amendment when we print?
So it is confusing that that's an optional form that comes up, but no, we are not requiring case managers to do that additional amendment form, because everything in the prior written notice would specifically explain why you're amending it. So it's just an extra form. So no, you never need to do that agreement to amend form.
Question 5, deadlines and dates for IEP. It seems like everyone does it a bit differently. What dates should be used on the service grid? And do we need to have an extra line for indirect service?
So we linked the Part B timelines and Part C timelines. The IEP proposed start date on the service grid should always be 14 calendar days from the date of the prior written notice, or meaning when you're sending it to the parents, which that should be within 10 days of the IEP meeting. So if the IEP meeting is on
The 10th.
December 10th, yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to go with an easy number. Say it's on December 10th. You need to have that IEP out to parents by December 20th. And the 14 days from the 20th would be, I need to look at my calendar just to make
Or should we just go with from December 1st?
Well, so from December 20th, it would be January 3rd. So you just go look on your calendar and you go 2 weeks down, 14 days. Regardless if it's a holiday, weekend, non-school day, it does not matter. You just do 14 days from that prior written notice date. And then as far as indirect services, a separate line should be used unless your indirect time frequency matches your direct time frequency. Depending on the disability area, frequency may vary by week, month, or year.
So that it has to do with, say, you provide service for a reading service daily, so 5 times a week. If you're not providing that indirect service on a daily basis, it should be a separate line because the frequency will be different.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the title service coordination for my indirect service time because that kind of is a culmination of everything that you do outside of your direct time.
Yeah. And yeah, I've seen service coordination or like just consultation monitoring. It's like a / either one would be fine. Mm-hmm.
Consultation, data collection, all of those different pieces.
Yep.
Number 6, progress reports. How long between the end of tri or semester and the IEP meeting does it need to be to not have to do progress reports? If no progress report is needed, do we put a blurb such as data shared at the IEP meeting, or what needs to be entered? I'm getting a lot of conflicting information.
So we get this question a lot. There is no, you've had it within 20 days of the end of the quarter or beginning of the quarter, then it's really, if it's kind of your discretion. So if you have a IEP meeting, say at the beginning of the quarter or trimester, and you have data to report at the end, I would go ahead and document that data. But if it's within like a few weeks-ish and you just wrote that goal and you really don't have good data to write a progress report, don't write a progress report. But just making sure on that front page of your IEP, it typically states like you will have progress reports at the same time as your gen ed peers. So if you're on trimesters, make sure at the end of that IEP year you have 2 written progress reports plus the IEP, or if you're quarters, you have 3 written progress reports and an IEP. And then also making sure on like your present levels, you're documenting that data to support like meeting those goals or your justification for what you're proposing for your next goals to be.
And I think the conflicting and confusing information regarding this has to do with the fact that there is not a strict timeline. And so each district or sometimes coordinator or other staff may create a opinion-based or preferred-based timeline for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's turnover in staff, there might be some confusing and conflicting information on that.
Mm-hmm. Number 7, what is the protocol for providing services to online students? For example, if you have an online student who's falling behind, won't respond to any emails, and the parent doesn't respond to emails or answer calls, voicemail box is full, how do we provide services in this case?
The most important thing to do is making sure any of those non-responsive families that you're documenting in the communication log all of your attempts, whether it's emails, voicemails, text, if you're using maybe a Google Voice number or something like that, making sure you're documenting that. Attempt to schedule an IEP meeting to discuss their concerns and programming. And again, just making sure you're documenting all those attempts to get a hold of the parent and student. Contact your coordinator for district specific protocol, but I know some district, like there's not great guidelines for like the truancy absence policies for online students, and so I know multiple districts are working on that, even with county input, because it's not as clear cut as, because they don't technically have to attend every single day to make progress on their online classes, and so each district, it really is kind of unique to their situation and what they want, how they want to proceed with that. Online's definitely not an easy route for special education in any way, shape, or form. And just know too that when families are considering online, just making sure we're not saying, well, no, you can't go online. Well, they can. It's a parent choice thing. It's just like if they're enrolling to any school district, you can give them information to say, like, these are their strengths and weaknesses. This is what's going to be really hard for them. This is maybe what will work for them, giving them all their options, but never can we just blankly say, like, you cannot go to online. Like, that's not, unless there's timeline requirements for those online schools, because I know some districts have that as well. Yes, we will make sure you have access to the document. Yep, absolutely. We will link it right on the Cohort document on the website.
Yep. Number 8, how long after evaluating for EBD does the team need to wait before evaluating again if the student did not qualify?
So special ed evaluations can be requested at any time. However, some test measures have windows where they cannot be re-administered if a new evaluation is requested right after one has been completed. So a lot of times you'll do review of existing data. Teams must plan on an independent basis, bring all reevaluation, well, I can't talk, sorry. Bring all requests to SST. Your school psych will know which tests and all those rules, but really there is no like timeline saying, oh, we tested this kid 3 months ago and now parents are on board and have requested it. Absolutely go ahead and do that, depending on the situation. But no, there really is no fast rule at all about how often you can reevaluate. So
it's really just a matter of making sure that your assessment tools are able to be administered again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any additional questions? There's got to be more out there.
We should just leave this document open and then people can add to it as they see fit, and we can respond.
Yeah. We could put just the Google form. We can not give everybody edit rights to this document, but we can link the Google form there. So at any point, if there's questions, yeah, I like that idea. Are there new guidelines for functional skills goals? I'm hearing rumors. Okay, elaborate, Marley.
So word of warning, I'm coming from St. Francis with this question. So we're talking outside the co-op here. But I was told today that they were under the impression that there are new guidelines from the state about how and when we're writing functional skills goals for our students. Have we heard anything about this? Okay.
No.
All right. I kind of figured that was the case, but I thought I'd throw it out to.
I don't know how. I mean, if a need is a need, I don't know how they can really put like parameters on when and how you write a functional skills goal.
That was kind of my take too, and I did first research. So
sure.
I figured this was my team to ask. So.
Sure. No, not that we've heard.
So I kind of have a question, Carrie, and whoever's else on here, to go back to question number 8.
Yep.
So I did actually just do evaluation on a preschooler. Did not qualify. Scores were pretty low. But we did have that conversation because she said, well, what happens now? I kind of said we're still going to follow him. But like for me, I guess when we're talking about those tools, like I just got done doing the Battelle. So if there's no like hard rules, what else would I, let's say they want to do it comes spring of this time. Okay. What am I supposed to do then? Because if I review it, it's going to be the same thing. It's not that much time in between. So I guess that my question is do we bring it to the SST and say, as a team, what do you guys think? Would we say we wouldn't do it at this time then, or what? Because like those Battels and stuff, things like that, I can't do the Woodcock Johnsons quite yet with him, and things like that. So what do I do? I guess
it all is going to depend too on like, are the needs the same? Like if you're looking at the exact same concerns, I would say like there's also like you could use the Brigance as an alternative assessment too.
We use that for sure, and he was low, and that's why we moved, because he had like a 35 out of 100. So I've already done that one.
Sure.
Dang. You're right, I know. He is an older kiddo though, so like he did not go to preschool. He is that too, but he went this year now, but he could have technically went to kindergarten because he is 5.5. So like his birthday's not till May, so technically he would be 6 in May, but that's kind of the end of the school year. But I was going to say, I'm just thinking of like ahead of like the Woodcock Johnson kind of thing. I mean, yes, maybe.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be exposed, like he wouldn't get the instruction in a lot of the skills that the WJ assesses.
No, if he was in kindergarten and, he would have been exposed to a little bit more of those higher skills. I know, and this was a hard one from the beginning, because it's like, so we went with a Battelle, those sort of things. But okay, well, if anyone can come up with ideas, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna
I can think about that one too.
Thanks.
And I think part of this particular question too had to do with the fact that this is related to a student who is being evaluated, was initially evaluated for speech. They then found some behavior concerns. They know that this student would qualify for developmental delay, but as they are close to being 7, knowing that they need to reopen that again if they want to look at EBD as a follow-up to that, or if they should just do it now. There's not a lot of data to support that they would qualify for EBD at this time, just that DD. So.
Right. Any other questions?
What about like technology? I know like we've had a ton of different things going on with technology this year. Like we even had to like send our district like things that we use on a daily basis that might have like their names in them so that they could send it out to parents to let them know. Are we supposed to be putting something in the accommodations and modifications now if we're using it for like a choice time, or is that something just specific to our classroom that we're able to just do?
I haven't heard anything that would be like your kids use it for choice time after they earn it.
Yeah, sometimes they choose that, sometimes they don't. Yeah.
Sonia's itching to respond, so I'm curious.
That's definitely coming around the corner, that there's some districts that are going to be much more up in arms about sort of that data privacy type stuff than others. I wouldn't worry about it until you hear from the powers that be. I mean, I don't think it ever hurts to add it into the adaptations and modifications, specific things that you're using or things that work, because then it, like we do with AT, if they move, then the other people know. So it doesn't hurt ever, but I don't think we need to get that specific, because I feel like it's coming.
Yep. And like my kids use it for boom cards too, which is like their independent learning time that I have them use it for, which was one of the things I needed to send them because it has like their username and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that it's coming down the pipe, and I think that Jody, just what you said is great to do that, but I'm sure we're going to hear more sooner than later.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, well, if there's no other questions, like we said, we will link the Google form and this document to the cohort information on the website. So then you can either add questions as they come up that you think would be helpful for the whole group or the whole co-op to have that information, and then we'll try to keep on top of answering those questions as soon as we can. So, okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Carrie, do
Yeah.
you have